None of this makes sense from a basketball standpoint in my mind. You cannot justify this from a basketball standpoint. Guy writes, and this is a little bit long, but give me a break or stick with me here because it's well worth understanding what this guy is talking about. As a 6-year-old boy, I watched the first ever Mavericks game with my late dad on October 11th, 1980. The Mavs beat the Spurs, blah, blah, blah. And then he says, I have a theory as to what's really going on here. Premise one, the Mavs trading Luka, a 25-year-old, one of the top 3 players in the world, to the Lakers in return for a broken down 31-year, 32-year-old Anthony Street Clothes Davis makes no sense as a basketball move. Virtually no one disputes this, so there must be a non-basketball explanation for what is going on here. Premise two, the Mavs' new Miriam Adelson Dumont ownership group has no real interest in basketball, and they have said as much. To the Adelsons, the Mavs are just a means to an end, which is opening up the largest untapped gambling market in the country, Texas. A destination resort casino in DFW, Dallas-Fort Worth, with the new Mavs arena in it is their frequently stated goal. So I believe in 2022 or 2023, Adelson buys the Mavericks from Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban, longtime owner of the Mavericks. He's been embarrassed and shamed over a sex scandal in a environment within the Dallas Mavericks that's, looks really bad. He looks like he's running Harvey Weinstein's basketball organization. He gets shamed. He sells 75%, I believe, of his stake in the Mavericks to Adelson. He's still a minority owner. Cuban, hardcore basketball fan. Miriam Adelson, not a hardcore basketball fan. She has other interests. This is me talking, not telling you what this kid is saying or what this person is saying. He's an adult. He's a 6-year-old. He said he watched his first ever game in 1980. Anyway, premise number 3. The Adelson push to change Texas law to allow their Mavs-centered destination casino resort is going badly in Austin. Again, despite hiring virtually every lobbyist in Austin, Texas, their company, Sands Casino, Miriam Adelson, she made her fortune, or her husband made his fortune by running the Sands Casino, is not getting a bill through the Texas legislature this season. So another loss for gambling in Texas, and it will be 2 more years before the next legislative session. Premise 4, the Adelsons need more leverage to get a gambling bill through the Texas legislature. But they already donate more to Texas politicians than literally anyone else, and they employ dozens of good lobbyists. So where the carrot has failed, they need a stick. That stick is the threat to move the Mavs to Vegas unless they get what they want. Premise 5. As of 24 hours ago, the threat to move the Mavs to Vegas was laughable. The Mavs just made a trip to the NBA Finals and were led by a 25-year-old generational superstar. They landed a major free agent, Klay Thompson, in the offseason. They were beloved in Dallas-Fort Worth, the 4th largest media market in the United States. Teams riding high don't move. Premise 6. If their goal is to open a destination casino resort centered on a new arena, the Adelsons are better off with the Mavs being bad, unpopular, and unprofitable. This would make viable their threat to move to Vegas unless the Texas legislature legalizes their Venetian Dallas casino arena plan. Premise 7, the NBA would not allow a healthy franchise to abandon the 4th largest media market in Dallas or in the U.S., but if local support for the Mavs has dried up, the aging American Airlines Center is full of empty seats, the political will to build a new arena has collapsed, and the promise of a golden new market in Vegas beckons. Ask fans of the Seattle Supersonics if the NBA would block a Mavs to Vegas. Premise 8, by giving away Luka in return for Anthony Day-to-Day Davis, the Mavs went from being a top-tier NBA team for many years to come to who knows what now. The combination of AD, Klay, and Kai is the 2018 NBA All-Star team. But it's unfortunately 2025. The reality is the Mavs will be bad soon, and they don't have the draft capital to change their trajectory. Premise 9, but even worse for the Mavs franchise is that day one fans like me feel betrayed and heartsick. I have never seen a fan base so angry. Who is going to buy season tickets now? Watch games on TV, buy and wear merchandise. The Mavericks are already down 700K followers on Instagram since they ran Luka out of town. I can relate to this. If I were still back in Indiana and a super hardcore Pacer fan the way that I was, if they had given away one of the 2 or 3 best players in the league, a guy that Dallas fans have invested 7 years in, and you have one of the 2 or 3, and you just give him away for an old aging player, I would swear off the Pacers, lead a boycott of the Pacers. I would be irate, never support the Pacers again, feel totally betrayed. This is what's happening in Dallas. They're down 700K in Instagram followers. I know that's the Matrix and all that other stuff, but people in Dallas are upset. Who wants that? Calls this premise number 11, but I believe it's premise number 10. He just lost count. The Adelsons didn't trade Luka to the Lakers for old unibrow Davis. They traded Luka for a gun they can hold to the head of the Texas legislature. Authorize our Mavs-centered casino or we're off to Vegas, baby, and the NBA won't say no. Premise number 12, the Adelsons will get their Mavs-centered casino one or another. Plan A is the new Venetian Dallas, but if the Texas legislature continues to say no, then Plan B is the Vegas Mavericks, and the unhealthy nature of the post-Luka Mavs makes Plan B viable. Premise 13, and oh yeah, a nice side benefit of this gambling-driven plan is that the NBA's flagship franchise, the Lakers, is reinvigorated with one of the top 3 players on the planet, like Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem, and Shaq before Luka. The Lakers magically have a new superstar. Premise 14, that Nico admits that he talked only to the Lakers about trading Luka, reveals that this was not a basketball-driven transaction. Why not get 5 first-round draft picks for Luka? Because the Adelsons need the Mavs to stink and be hopeless by 2027 and the Texas legislative session. Final premise. So there you have it. The Adelsons get their leverage and will have their new destination resort casino centered on a new Mavs arena in the late 2020s or early 2030s in Dallas, or Plan B, Vegas. The NBA gets their marquee franchise rebuild in Los Angeles. The Lakers get their successor to LeBron, and Kobe will be good for the next for LeBron and Kobe, and will be good for the next decade. Mavs and Dallas-Fort Worth fans get screwed. Whew. That's a lot, but it blew my mind when I read that, and it makes more sense than anything else. Let me play this clip of you. From Mark Cuban a while back. It's just 30 seconds, but it's about him being a tiny bit uncomfortable pushing for what they clearly are pushing for now. Let's play SOT number 7.
You know, I talked about being the tech guy and the media guy, having an edge when I first came in. Like, I knew nobody else did, so I always had an edge. But so what's happening now, you saw it with Golden State, now with Boston, build all around the arena, and the arena becomes a central point for some bigger real estate development. I don't know shit about that. And so for me to say, okay, I'm going to put up $1 billion, even if I had to borrow it or whatever, and bring in a partner to run that for me, that's a big risk. 100 people will come in and say, I'll do it for you, and I know what I'm doing, but I just didn't want to be in that position of, not knowing and being able to control my own destiny.
So this is Mark Cuban justifying selling the team several years ago because, hey, this is outside my expertise, what they have planned, and it's already happening in other NBA cities. And I'm just Miriam Adelson doesn't care about basketball. She wants this gambling thing. Once she gets it, watch. Mark Cuban will return as the owner of the Dallas Mavericks. He's done this temporarily and said, hey, this is the way the NBA is going. I'm going to step back for a while. You guys do what you need to do. Your name's going to be mud here in the Dallas area. And then I'll come back as the conquering hero at another point. I'm going to give you this Nico Harrison, who's running the Mavericks. He worked at Nike for a long time, I think 19 years. His claim to fame was he was tight with Kobe Bryant, and he was one of Kobe Bryant's handlers. But his real claim to fame at Nike was blowing their recruitment of Steph Curry. They say that he called Steph Seth in part of their recruitment pitch, and that he aired a video intended for Kevin Durant in their pitch for Steph Curry. And it's one of the most embarrassing things that ever happened at Nike. This is the guy that gets installed as president and general manager of the Dallas Mavericks. And I say, hey, look, maybe the guy is a genius and he just had an off day and he made some mistakes and he was hungover. Who knows? But he's the perfect kind of guy to get, because he's running the Dallas Mavericks. His career had been 19 years at Nike. Now all of a sudden he's president GM of the Dallas Mavericks. He's the perfect kind of guy that you install to oversee the demolition of your franchise. He's disposable. And once again, Mark Cuban can return as the conquering hero and put real basketball people. We lost our way, and now I'm the hero coming back to resave the Dallas Mavericks. Help us grow the Fearless Army. Pound that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with all your fearless friends.